IAMPRO community. My name is Charlie Brooks, and I'm very excited to be bringing to you today an absolutely delightful young actress who shot to fame as a child star in The Dumping Ground. She was in The Witcher, and she had a lead part in Get Even, and she's currently filming a film called Smudged Smile, which will be on our screens soon. So without further ado, please can we welcome Mia McKenna-BRUCE.
Hello.
Hi, honey. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Keeping busy despite everything that's going on in the world right now. So
that's what we
good.
like to hear. Oh, yes. Good. I'm so pleased. Thank you so much for coming to share all your juicy information with the IAMPRO community.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. Now, your journey in is... it's a little bit different because you shot to fame in The Dumping Ground. Can you tell us how that came about, how old you were, how it came about? Did you have an agent at that time?
Yeah. Oh, God, cast my mind back. So I was 10, I think, when I first when the audition started. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was 10. Yeah, because I left when I was 18 and I was in it for 8 years. So, yeah, 10. And it was a really long process. It was really, I think they hadn't quite figured out who they wanted to play what part and all of that. They just wanted to get like a group of kids together that had good chemistry, that, you know, enjoyed what they were doing. Because don't get me wrong, there was a lot of auditions that like kids were there and they were like, I don't know, we had to have talks at the beginning of each audition. Like you'd be staying away from home, you'd be living with chaperones and stuff like that. So there were quite a few children throughout the process that were like, I actually don't want to do this, which is completely fair enough. So there was all of that. I did have an agent at the time. I had done a couple of jobs before Dumping Ground started. I started out in like musical theatre. So I always thought I wanted to be a dancer, and then I did a couple of jobs that were acting, and then I was like, oh yeah, no, this is what I want to do. And then I can remember getting a call like, oh, they're doing workshop auditions for the new Tracy Beaker spin-off, and I was a huge fan. Like, who wasn't Tracy Beaker when they were little? So I was literally like, oh my god, it was huge. And yes, the actual auditions were these workshops where you'd have to like improv around certain scenes and all of that, really, which the kind of stuff now that petrifies me. Like if I walked in now and they were like, okay, here's what we're doing, improv, go, I'd literally be like,
we're probably much freer, I suppose. As we get older, we overthink everything, don't we?
As a child, obviously, like there's no pressure. Like that at that point, it was just so exciting to be workshopping for a Tracy Beaker spin-off. Like you never imagine it going any further than that. So like I just took that as it was and had a really fun time, which is maybe something I should think about doing a bit more now when it comes to auditions and stuff.
It's really important to remember that. It's really important for us to remember that this is all just about play, isn't it? It's all just about sort of having fun and loving what we do. But with the pressures that come with being a successful actress, you do start overthinking, and as you grow up, it sort of niggles in the head, doesn't it? The little voices.
100%. Like it's weird. I think I went through a phase maybe post Dumping Ground. Obviously I'd been so lucky that I had this job to go to every year. I hadn't thought about necessarily a life after that or whatever. So when I left, it was all of a sudden, and also I was auditioning as an adult now, not as a child. Different. All of a sudden. So tell us what you think about the character, and it'd be like, wait, what? So it's stuff that you don't necessarily think about as much as a child that came into play, and there was a big part like. The further I went along, like the more pressure I put on myself and the more nervous I'd get, and then I had to sort of strip it back and be like, wait, why am I doing this? Because of like I love it and all of that. And then when you can come back to focusing on what you love about it, I think that really helped me.
Yeah, it's not easy, that transition from being a child star into the big bad world, because also we've missed out on a lot of schooling and the drama lessons and the drama school that we would ordinarily go to. But IAMPRO does all of that, like you know, looking at how to build the character.
Amazing. That's amazing, because like I think it's such a big thing that like drama school, obviously you learn so much, and so many people take so much away from that, but there's a lot of people that don't have the opportunity to go or the time, you know. It's a lot of time, a big chunk of your life, or at the time anyway. So the fact that, like, you know, IAMPRO gives you that insight is amazing. I love that. Like, I started the back end of last year, I think between lockdowns, I started at like a workshop during the week, because I was just like, I just need to feel that like creativity. Like, as silly as that sounds, like I just needed to like do it, and obviously with the climate of the world, like I couldn't. So that's amazing.
Not silly at all. You know, IAMPRO will fill those gaps in people's lives. I still have an acting coach and I do the sessions. There's so much that I didn't know that I've learned from this platform. It's amazing. Mia, how did you get over that? Because, you know, I had it a little bit when I left EastEnders, that transition and feeling that nerves and then sitting a little bit in insecurity and, you know, how did you overcome it?
It was really hard. It was really hard. I actually quit acting for a bit and I went traveling because I was like, I can't, like, it was just so much. I was putting so much pressure on myself and I wasn't enjoying it anymore. Like, I didn't know. I was just like, why am I doing this to myself? I'd be before auditions, I get myself in such a state that I would literally be like, oh, why am I putting myself through it? Like, the actual audition itself was fine. Like, I'd be in there and I'd be fine. I'd be loving it. But I'd come out and, you know, have a panic attack because of how much I'd been worked up before. So I was just like, I don't know why I'm putting myself through it. So I took myself away from it. I went traveling. And then I was like, okay, I got a job in a call center and was a bit like, okay, maybe I've done it. Like, maybe I've had that part of my life and that's fine. And then I did that for a couple of months and was very quickly like, no, actually, I remember what I love about it now. Take me back.
Yeah. Did you hold on to your agent through that time?
Yes, I did for the initial stages. They were great. They were really supportive and they were like, take your time. But then it did get to a point I was like, I actually didn't think I wanted to act anymore, and I left my agent then. Because I thought, I don't want to do this. There's no point, you know, taking up someone else's space. Like, because there's a certain amount of people in a roster. Is that the word? So I did leave my agent at that time, because I was convinced that I was done with it, but I very much wasn't. But yeah, for me, it was taking a complete break from it all and step back and figuring out what I actually wanted to do. Because also there's so many different sectors of acting. I know that sounds crazy, but like there's theatre and drama and comedy and like loads of different stuff, and it was all just a bit, I'd never really thought about it before. I'd never thought about it in any sort of depth of like, oh, this is what I love or this is why I love it. It was all very just I knew I loved to perform, I knew I loved to be other characters, but I didn't really figure out why as a child. So
well, you were too busy. You were too busy. Yeah. You were working constantly. You didn't have time to think about it.
Yeah. And I mean, like,
sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, like, the fact that we'd be working, it got to, by the time I left, we were doing 6 months of the year filming and then 6 months of the year at school. So even when it came to family time, anything like that, like, as much as I wouldn't change it at all, but like then you do miss out on a huge part of life. So it is sort of figuring out getting that bit of life back as well.
Yeah, I mean, going traveling and just spending that time with yourself and getting to know yourself for the first time, probably as you're growing up, because you went through all the adolescence and all that, is the best thing you could have done. You know, when I came out of EastEnders, I was really keen to just do theatre because I didn't know myself as an actress really. And to be honest with you, I still don't. I'm still learning. I have an acting coach I work with weekly. Like I said, I do the lessons at home. Like I'm nearly 40 and I'm on that journey of sort of discovery.
I love that. Like, I think if there came a point where I felt like I knew it all or I'd learned everything, like that's when, you know, that's what sort of keeps you going, doesn't it? Like, there's always so much more to learn and find out. And that's what keeps it so exciting, I think.
I think people who think they know it all can just do one because they don't.
They really don't. They really don't.
I know they don't. So do you get nervous when you walk onto? Let's move on from dumping ground. We're now into Mia, who is a fully grown up and is, you know, living her life and doing some absolutely fantastic work. Can I add?
Thank
when
you.
you walk onto a new set, do you get nervous? Like, how do you feel? What's your process?
Yeah, I still get nervous before every single scene I do. I get, but also I love that because someone told me once the only difference between excitement and nerves is the same emotion. It's just you're breathing. The difference between excited and getting nervous about it is literally just your breath. So like, I love the feeling of nerves because now that I can identify that as excitement. So every time I do a scene, I know I love it. I know I'm excited by it. So I like that. But I do get nervous, and I think part of that is, sorry, as much as we've moved on from Dumping Ground, you know, it was we'd all grew up together, so it was, I knew that set inside out, back to front. I knew that character inside out, back to front. I didn't need to think about it. It was just there, you know. It was something I'd made from when I was 10 years old. So going on to any set now, I'm like, is this going to be the same? Is it going to be different? Because every set is different, and it's a really small world. Like, you always end up meeting someone that you've worked with before, or knows a friend of yours, or like, it's a really small world. And I think, like, you'll know this, like, as soon as you step on set, within 2 days, like, all of a sudden they are your family, they are your life. Like, it's so intense. Like, every set I sort of go on becomes like, I get very wrapped up in that bubble. And I think that's something I need to work on myself. I go onto a set now and completely throw myself into that, which is good to some degree, but then it's also, I forget about my life back home. Like, I'm literally just there and that's it. And then all of a sudden that's over, and I come back home and I'm like 2 different people. Like, it's a lot.
It's like a little part of you sort of missing. I've done a couple of jobs, you know. I did a tour of this play called A Beautiful Thing, and it was just the most amazing experience. And, you know, and I just didn't know what to do with myself when I got home. You really have to try and bridge that.
Yeah, it's like the post-holiday blues. It's like you come back and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing with myself. It's really hard. And also, every job you do, like, you can never quite share that experience with someone unless they were on it. So it's really hard to, like, come back, and as much as people will ask, like, how was it and stuff, like, it's great, but like, the ins and outs of it, like, you can never quite share that. So that's something that I'm definitely working on at the moment, like, being able to combine it all and, like, keep in touch with my regular life at home when I'm on a job as well, sort of thing.
And can we go on and talk a little bit about what your process is, if you have one? If somebody asked me, I'd be like, oh, I don't know. So from self-tape, let's say, for example, for Get Even, you get asked to do a self-tape, because it doesn't matter how big actors are these days, they still self-tape for stuff, don't they, right? So what tips have you got for the self-tape in situ? How do you do it? Do you do it at home? Do you pay someone?
Yeah, I do it at home with my boyfriend, which is really good because I'm super lucky that I don't have to, you know, self-tapes can be really difficult for a lot of people, like having to find someone or like time and that. So I'm really lucky we sort of just fit it in around our day. So that part for me isn't a stress, which is really great. And then I think it depends on the tapes. Like, sometimes I'll get tapes through that I don't feel like I can I don't want to use the word connect, but I don't feel like I don't read it and I'm like, yes, like, this is me, like, I could do this. Like, some tapes I get through and I'm a bit like, oh, I don't really see this fitting me, but I love the casting director or whatever. So you know, I'll sort of do my prep for that a little bit, but I won't go into too much depth because I don't like to get overly invested early on as well, because obviously, like, the rejection of things, now that self-tapes are so common, I feel like I'm getting seen for a lot more, which is great, but then also it feels like I'm getting even more rejection than I would normally, because they might not be in like, I might not get in those rooms normally because I'm not quite right for the character, but because they're taped, they'll see them or whatever.
Always good to just do it, especially just to get in front of that casting director, because so often you're not right for one thing, they'll go, she's not right for this job, and they never forget.
Yeah, exactly. But then when it comes to something, so like with Get Even, they basically sent over a couple of characters and said, like, tape for which one you think suits you. So in that, I think they sent over 2 characters, so I kind of prepped and stuff for both of them. I didn't want to read them and go, this one, and then that one not be quite right, because it's really interesting, because the character that I first read and connected to first was not the one that I ended up getting. So
Right.
I like do my sort of prep in.
So when you say prep, talk us through your prep, Mia.
Okay, so learning the lines is a huge one, because I think I went through quite a big stage of I thought I knew my lines, but when the nerves kicked in, like they were just gone, because I didn't know them. I really should have, because I can read things through a couple of times and they'll be there, but when you're nervous and stuff and you're thinking about a million and one other things, they're not. Yeah, exactly.
So weird.
I really learn my lines, and I think really good thing to do with that is the night before is, I think, crucial. The night before you're going to tape or an audition or a scene or whatever, the night before is the most crucial, because I feel like if you can really go through it before you go to sleep, the night before, it's really ingrained in you today.
Totally.
Yeah, so I do that. I also do like a timeline of whether I've got the script or the scenes or whatever material they've given. I'll do like a timeline of where they've been, like how they've got to whatever they're in that scene. Just because I think that's really helpful to know where the character's head is at, you know, if they've just been really big a couple of scenes ago, but you're completely forgetting about that, like that might be a really prominent thing in that scene. So I do like a timeline to know where they're at. If I've been given the script, I'll read the script a couple of times to make sure I know what's going on. And then for self-tapes, I don't really do this so much, but when it comes to prep for jobs, someone told me once about writing a diary as the character the night before, which is really, really, I mean, I'd like to do it more than I do it. I don't do it sort of every day I'm on a job. Like if I've got like a big scene or a big something coming up for that character, then I'll make sure I'm sort of there or whatever. But I'd like to, because it's a nice routine. Like people do journal a lot, so it's nice to do that as the character, I think. So yeah, I think that's as far as my prep really goes.
That's a pretty thorough prep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, like, a lot of people have come to me before and said, like, oh, like, how do you, like, break down the character and all of this. I don't like to do too much personal, like, it's a very personal thing, like, everyone has their different prep. I don't like to do too much. I like to know, like, I like to know the bigger picture. That's my main thing, but I don't like to break it down in a scene too much, because for me, then I've overthought it, and I just come very naturally to me then. So, like, the scene by scene stuff, I like to just let it play out. And normally tapes, if I spend hours on them, I end up going with the initial couple. Like I think your initial instincts are normally the right ones to go with.
Trust your instincts, absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't like to spend too long, like breaking down the scenes individually.
Yeah, I can get into a whole world of pain if I start overthinking, and then you're just like, oh, I don't know how she would look, or how's you gonna hold this cup of tea.
Literally that, like, it's the tiniest thing. Like if the line was like, oh, pass me a bag of crisps, like, you know, like in real life, like you don't think about that, but all of a sudden you're thinking about, pass me a bag of crisps, pass me a bag of crisps, like, yeah, like it's literally like you just drive yourself insane.
Okay, good. So oh, the other thing I was going to say with line learning as well, something I do, oh God, not that I'm great at it, but is like wander around the kitchen, make a cup of tea while you're saying your lines. So that's how you, because so often I think I know them, then I'm like, uh-oh, sugar pops, they've gone.
Yeah, like you need to know with other stuff going on in your head, 100%.
Absolutely,
or sometimes I'll also try, like, maybe if I've got a later audition in the day, in the morning, like I'll try and, like, this sounds insane, but like say my lines like weird or something, or like just like the weirdest way I could say them, like just shout them or something like that, like just so whatever they throw at me in the room doesn't feel like strange. Like I just try I don't know, just sort of like, I don't know, even sing them or something like that, so that like if they just say sing your lines, like it doesn't throw me, just so that like whatever they say can't phase me in the room.
Totally. Pass me the bag of crisps.
Yeah, exactly. I've got it.
You've got the job and you've got the script. What are your next moves before you start filming?
Okay, so again, the timeline thing is really important, I think, of just making sure, especially because you don't film in chronological order, like having a breakdown for yourself of knowing what's happened, where you're going, what, like all of that, what else is going on in the story, I think is hugely important. I love to, my first thing as soon as I book a job, I go buy myself some new stationery, nice new folder, like so I feel as possible, because as soon as I'm like I said, like as soon as I'm on that job, I'm so just wrapped up in the bubble. I'm so excited. Like I love, like one of the best things of a new job is like meeting new people, like cast and like it's amazing. So I'm the first person to be like, oh, we were going for dinner, we going for drinks. Like I love getting to know people. So I love to do as much prep as I can before I get on set, because I think I let it slip away as soon as I'm actually on set. So to have it like there ready is really ideal. Yeah, I think that's the main thing, like just getting everything. Obviously reading the scripts and stuff, which sounds obvious, but I have been on set a lot of times where people will be in a scene and they have no idea, and like to me, I'm like, I watch it back and I'm like, I can see that you have no idea what you're doing or where, or like what you're saying. So I think that's hugely important.
What about building? Sorry, go on, Mia.
No, go.
I was going to say, what about building a character?
Yeah, that was basically, that was good. We were on the same wave. Depending on the characters themselves, obviously, like a lot of the time you'll get like a reference of where that, like who they're basing that character on or something like that. Or I always play younger characters. I always play like school age still. So a big thing for me is I don't live at home, but I like to spend I've got two younger sisters, so I like to spend a lot of time around them, because one is 13 and one's 18. So they're like age, like to get to understanding of what's going on in the world at that sort of age is huge for me. So I try and do that. I try and just watch I watch whatever the team, the production team or the director or whatever, like I watch their stuff before to see normally what sort of vibe their shows are, because obviously that's really helpful to know. And then like individual, like building a character, I think it really comes with each job, like it changes. So with Brie in Get Even, she for me, like there was a lot of myself in her and stuff. And again, like with my sisters, I spent a lot of time with them and getting to know what it was like being at school, because that was a long time ago for me. So just stuff like that, just like gathering bits of knowing how that person's day-to-day life would be. But also with Get Even, it was a really, really fast turnaround. It was like we were cast on the Thursday, read through on the Friday, started filming on the Monday. So a lot of the time you don't actually have that much time either. So you're kind of figuring it out as you go along.
Yeah. And with the help of the director, of course. And do you find that easy building that relationship? Because obviously he's an integral part of the process and it's important that you get on. Have you ever had any disagreements with the director, or, you know, how confident are you in sort of putting your own stamp on something and sort of going, well, I don't believe that she would do that or behave in that way? Like, have you had a conflict, and how do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think with something like a series that I'm working on, where I know the character really well, I know the show really well, I'm not afraid to sort of say, not that I disagree, but I'd maybe ask like, why do you think she would do that? Because I see it another way or something like that. Like, because obviously they've done their prep as well. Like I'd never doubt the amount of prep that like a director has to do as well. So I'd maybe just say like, how have you got to that? Because I'm not there. So what's getting us there? If it comes to jobs where I don't know, like maybe if it's like a guest role in a series or something like that, where I don't know the series as well as the director will, then obviously if I don't understand something, then I'll ask. But 9 times out of 10, like my trust is solely on what they're doing, because also like they're seeing a bigger, I'll have the one episode that I'm in, they know the episodes that have been before and are coming after. I don't like to question too much when it's things like that, because I'm like, okay, you might have a different, like, I'll always ask, but
I think that's so important. I think it takes a lot of confidence to even ask questions, especially when you're in the industry. You know, you sort of go, okay, yes, but really, I really encourage people absolutely not to have conflict with directors. However, to trust in their own opinion and to be unafraid to offer up their version and to mix it up and to explore with the director.
It takes a lot. Like, don't get me wrong, it took me a long time to get to a place where I felt I had the confidence to be able to say, oh, this is what I think about it. But you've just got to trust yourself. Like, if you're putting the work in, then of course, and it's not a matter of disagreeing. It's genuinely just asking, even if it's like, oh, I saw it like this. Like, like what part do you see? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you're collaborating. At the end of the day, everyone on that set wants it to be the best thing that it can be. So if your ideas and their ideas come together and create something even better, like that's all you're trying to do at the end of the day. Like, it's not, you're not telling them they're wrong, and ultimately they know that as well. Like, they will have their own ideas, and they won't be afraid to say to you they think what you're doing might not be in line with what their thoughts are. So you shouldn't be afraid to either, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you know, I used to be quite scared about asking questions, and you know, I've been in situations where I go, but I think it should be like this, and they go, yeah, but what about, and state something really obvious, and I'll go, oh God, how did I forget about that? But that's okay. You know, we've all got a lot to think about, and so there's no such thing as a silly question, I think. You know, and
absolutely. And also, at the end of the day, you're trying to play real human beings, and like, real human beings aren't straightforward. Like, there's going to be questions, there's going to be obvious things that you don't think about, or the director doesn't think about, because that's just real life. That's how it is.
Theatre, have you done any theatre, Mia?
I've only done musical theatre. I have never done a play.
Do you want to?
I would love to. I would absolutely.
The process is so different.
I would love to, because I know it would absolutely petrify me to my core. Like, it would scare me so much. But I started out like just wanting to be on stage. So I do think there's, like, obviously I love being on set and stuff, but there is nothing like that buzz you get off from being on stage. And every time I go see a play or a show, I'm like, oh, I just love it. I just love it. I really do. So I would love to go down that route at some point, yes. But I also know that I have a lot of work to put in before I get there. Like, I struggle with my voice. I it's quite unreliable if I don't use it properly. Like, I can lose it because I have quite a husky voice.
You need to do the vocal warm-up exercises on IAMPRO with our brilliant RADA coach, Kay Welsh.
I do. That is literally something that, like, I want to start working on now. Because like, I think when I was younger, like, I'm like, oh, it's my voice, like, whatever, like, it'll always be here. But I know it sounds crazy, but as you start to get older, you're like, no, I need to work at these things to make them work for me as well. So when it comes to, I know I'd need to first.
I lost you then. Sorry, Mia. What did you say?
Oh, like, when it comes, like, I know, like, if it came to doing a play or something, I'd need to put a lot of work in first. Like, when, like, the actual instruments of what I need.
Yeah, filling a theatre 8 shows a week, getting your voice to the theatre above, you know, thousands of people, hundreds of people, whatever the capacity is no mean feat. It's
a whole different ball game.
Like, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Whole different ball game. I have done shows and my voice goes, you know. So it's really important for me to start looking after that. And we can forget. I wish that I'd worked on that more and was more aware of that when I was younger. I really do.
Yeah.
Because you've got, you can build a really good instrument there, babes.
Yes.
What does the future look like for Mia McKenna-Bruce? What are your hopes and dreams?
Oh, I don't, you know what? It's constantly changing. Like, I think I'm really at the moment trying to focus on enjoying my life as much as I can without acting, or without the jobs. Like, whether that be like coming home from a job and not getting those post-job blues so much, or like dealing with rejection and stuff. I'm really trying to have obviously it is like my job, but I want it to be like a bonus. I want it to be like, you know, not the be all and end all, because I think I've spent a long time like that's just my everything. And it can be really that can be really damaging. So
yes, because it's like we need to be validated. We're validated by the work we do, when actually finding happiness without the work is equally as important.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm really working on right now. And then which, like, future wise, I mean, I don't know. Like, I just love working. I just love being on a set, like whatever that means for me. I love playing really challenging roles that are sort of pushing boundaries or really like making people question life, stuff like that. So I just hope I just really hope I get to continue playing roles that I love. And I would really like to do some action stuff. That's like my little like, yeah, I'd really love to get into doing some of that. So hopefully something.
Just telling stories. And what advice would you have for young people looking to break into the industry? I would say your younger self, but you were like smashing it out at 10.
I'd say really find why you love it, because it's really hard. Like, it's really hard, and the rejection is really hard. And every single actor, no matter how good you are, is going to face a lot of rejection. So that just comes with it. So you've got to find why it's worth putting yourself through that, I think. And then it does become easier.
Yeah. Good advice. Darling, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I'm sending you so much love.
See you.
Take it easy, baby. See you soon.